Welcome back, everyone. This lecture, we are going to learn about the iconography of the Buddhist as well as Jain, and also an introduction about iconography. But before we get into iconography, I will be talking a bit about the beginning of art in India. So, in art in India has been prevalent since the prehistoric times, as in the form of rock paintings and engravings. So, in Indian context, we get the earliest rock paintings from the Upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic phases from Bhimbetka, which is situated in Madhya Pradesh, and it is one of the World UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It was made in 2003, and these are most beautiful paintings made up of iron oxide, and the subject matter of these paintings are mostly hunting scenes and sometimes human figurines. Other sites include Lakhudiyar Caves in Uttarakhand, Yogimatha, Odisha, and many more. So, how this art developed? From the context of Neolithic phases in Mehergarh and Zhob and Quetta, we get the first evidences of the terracotta art in the form of small mother goddess figurines and sometimes figurines of a bull, and also with female figurines with pinched eyes and pinched hands, which you can see it in the PPT. Now, as we saw that with the upcoming of the Neolithic period, the terracotta art was actually coming into existence. And in the Indus Valley Civilization from around 3000 or 4000 BCE, we see the developmental phases of the terracotta art. Now, art of Indus is quite developed in the form of sculptures, seals, potteries, jewelries, figures, and etc. They not only developed the terracotta art, but they also formed a very different method of bronze casting, as you see it in the image of the dancing girl from Mohenjo-daro, labeled as A. And there is another image of bronze casted image that is a very small image of an elephant with wheels. It is the image number labeled as F. So from the in fact from the pre-Indus and also in the Indus period, we see the slowly development of these terracotta art, not in the or not in the form of the terracotta, but also in different metals and different materials. So after the downfall of the Indus Valley Civilization, there is a long period of time from 1900 to 1500 BCE where the cultures of the OCP or the ochre colored pottery or the PGW culture, painted grey ware culture, or the northern black polished ware culture was prevailing, and it is mostly related with the pottery forms rather than sculptural forms. So, in that case, the art is mostly on the pottery with various designs. With the upcoming of the historic period from 6th century BCE or the early historic period, we see the upcoming of the Mauryan art. Now, the Mauryan art and the post-Mauryan art has already been discussed in the introduction lecture, but this is a small recap of the Mauryan art. So, in 321 BCE, Chandragupta Maurya founded the Mauryan dynasty, and not only the dynasty but the Mauryan Empire, the first empire of the Indian subcontinent after upthrowing the Nanda Dynasty. The Mauryan Empire was the first most powerful empire to bring in the entire subcontinent into a single rule. So the Mauryan Empire and the Chandragupta Maurya spread its boundaries to Central Asia and Persia as well. So the artwork during this period was usually divided into the court art and the popular art. Now, the court art was directly patronized by the dynasty itself, like we have the pillars, like we have the rocket caves, and the popular art included, which was not directly patronized by the Mauryan dynasty, but it was supported indirectly but through the local arts which was already prevailing, such as the making of the terracotta images, or the making of potteries, or making of other sculptures, etc. Now, the post-Mauryan art and architecture. With the decline of the Mauryan Empire, several small dynasties rose to power, and among them the important were the Shungas, the Kanvas, Kushanas, and the Shakas in the north, and the Satvahanas, the Ikshavakus, the Abhiras, and the Vakatakas in the southern and the western area gained prominence. So the art and architecture was in the form of rocket caves and stupas, which continued with each dynasty, introducing their own unique features. And similarly, different schools of sculpture was emerged, and the art and sculpture reached its climax in the post-Mauryan period. Like we have the Gandhara school, we have the Mathura school, and the Amravati school of art and architecture, which has been already discussed in the previous class of introduction. So today we start up with iconography. So what do we know, or what do we understand by iconography? So the first grammar on image making was possibly written in the late Gupta period around 5th to 8th century CE. But before that, only descriptions of few images were available to us in the form of in the Rig Vedic or in the Upanishads, not Upanishads, but Brahmanas and Aranyakas. So the grammar of image making is called iconography, which means detailed description of the icons, and iconology takes into the consideration of different contextual materials which formed the proper background. So iconology and iconography are both different. So when I am doing iconographical study, I am just reading the attributes of the image or of the sculpture, like what it is, what is the headdress, what is the posture of the sculptures, what are the different jewelries the sculpture is wearing. But when it is an iconological study, it focuses on the aesthetical as well as the philosophical purview, that why this image is like this, and what are the why the pose is like this, what is the idea of the sculptor making this sculpture, what was his thinking behind this, and why did he make this image. So the iconometric sources, to study iconology and iconography, the sources are divided in northern and southern. So North India, it is based on Vastusastra, Aparajitaprccha, Samrangana Sutradhar, and in the southern context or in South India, it is Manasara, Mayamata, Shakaladhikar, and Amshudha Bheda. We get to know the classification of the images. Now, there, as per the sources and as per the iconographic sources available to us, now images are divided into few parts. The first is of chal and achal. Chal means portable. When an image is portable, it is very light, or it can be taken from anywhere to anywhere. So that is called chal. Simply, which can be portable. Like I have a small image at my home. I can take that image from place to place because it is very small and it is very lightweighted, and it can be moved from one place to another. The second category is that of achal. That means which is not portable, which is fixed to one region. Now, when you see a temple, the deity in the Garbhagriha or the Sanctum Sanctorum is in the achal form. It cannot be moved, it cannot be taken from one place to another, and it is quite heavy. But there are places where the temple deities from the Sanctum Sanctorum are taken out for various other rituals. But Achala means simply that these images are non-movable and only be kept in the sanctum sanctorum, as in the case of Buddha images which are kept in the chaityas or in the viharas, and these are large images which cannot be moved but are kept there. So that forms the Achala form. Now the third is that of Purna or the complete images. Now Purna or the complete images means that these sculptures of deities or semi-divine deities are always complete with all their attributes. And the second is that Apurna, which means incomplete. Incomplete here doesn't means that there is no ornamentation. There must be ornamented, but they might lose, or the depiction of these deities are like that, like Lord Jagannath. They are depicted with their heads and the upper thorax, but they do not have their hands and legs. So that is an example of apurna or incomplete image. The fifth type is of shanta, which means blissful or very calm. So these images are depicted with a very calm or very joyful mood, usually in dhyana mudra or with closed eyes, like such as the images or sculptures of Buddha or Jaina. When we talk about the images of Ashanta, these images show the facial expressions are quite, they depict angry, they are agitated, they are in a very fearful mood, like the images of Narasimha, Mahisasur-Mardini, and sometime Rudra. You will see that their faces are depicted with lot of anger and very fearfulness is there. In the iconographic study, there are certain postures and mudras which are to be needed before we get into the iconographical study of Buddha, Jain, or other Brahmanical deities. Now, the Natyashastra and Abhinaya Darpana gives us a long list of the mudras. But in this PPT, I am depicting a few of the mudras which are quite repetitive and quite common with the deities. Now, this is that when the right hand is raised, it is called an Abhay Mudra. That is that we are giving blessings, or the deity is giving blessings. Now, the next is that of Abhay Mudra. Now, this is Abhay Varad Mudra, that you are paying homage to somebody. Now, this depicts the Jnana Mudra. It is usually related with the Buddhist deity. The next is Vyakhyana Mudra, and next comes the Kata Valambyata Mudra, which means hand on the waist. It is usually depicted with the Brahmanical deities, and it is also called Kati Vinyas or arms akimbo. Now, the next mudra is that of Namaskar. You must all be knowing what is Namaskar. Namaskar means that you and me are equal and the God is residing in our hearts and we both are a part of the Almighty Himself. Next comes the Gajahasta Mudra. Now this is a form of dance and form of a dance mudra, and it is quite evident in the Nataraja's iconography. Then comes the Bhuta Madra Mudra, which is also a part of the Nataraja's iconography. Then comes the Mudra of Anjali. Now, this is an Anjali Mudra in which we are paying homage to the deity by giving up flowers or grains. Then comes Vajra Mukha Mudra, which is a part of again dance, and sometimes it is shown with the Vishnu's iconography. Then comes the Dhyana Mudra with crossed legs. It shows that a person is in deep meditation, and it is usually related with the Jain as well as the Buddhist icons. Next comes some of the Buddhist, important Buddhist poses are that of the Dharma Chakra Mudra, which shows this is a Dharma Chakra Mudra of Buddha. Then comes the Simhakarmana Mudra. This is a Simhakarmana Mudra. Then there is another form of Dharma Chakra Mudra that is like this, but the context remains same. The mudras are with the changes with the time. Then there is the Harina Mudra, which depicts that the hirans or the deers are on this point. It is a very important Buddhist mudra. Then there is a Tarpana Mudra. This shows that yes, I am taking whatever you are saying to me, I am accepting it. This is a Tarpana Mudra, doing Tarpan. Then we have Kershapana Mudra and Uttarbodhi Mudras. Uttarbodhi Mudras are like this, which depicts, this is the Uttarbodhi Mudra. These are some of the Buddhist mudras which are related to Tantric Buddhism. Then comes Buddha Marga Mudra. This is that, yes, whatever the deity or whatever my spiritual teacher is saying, I am accepting it. Then comes the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. This Bhumi Sparsha Mudra is a person sitting and the hand is on the lap, and the other hand or the right hand is touching the what do you say? Touching the earth. Thus, bhumi means earth, and sparsha means to touch. This is a very famous Buddhist mudra, and it is quite prevalent in the Buddhist sculptures. Finally, we begin with the Buddhist iconography. Now, Buddha was absolutely against the image worship. That is the reason the Buddhist or the Jain thoughts actually came into existence, because they were exactly against the image worships. So, till 1st century CE, the Buddhists paid homage to Buddha only through symbols and icons manifesting his life and his thought. But after 1st century CE, when the Fourth Buddhist Council was held at under Kanishka, and there was a division of the Mahayana and Hīnayāna sect. So the Hīnayāna sect accepted the worship of Buddha in the form of sculpture or an image. So the Mahayana people were actually following the form of worshipping in the form of symbols and icons. So some of the symbols and icons are stupas, the peepal tree or the bodhi tree under which the Buddha got his enlightenment. Then a platform with an image of feet bearing auspicious marks. It is often called a Dhammapada. Then swastika. Then the chakra with two stags, because since this Buddha gave his first sermon in a deer park at Sarnath, Uttar Pradesh. That is the reason two stags and or deers are depicted with Dharma Chakra. And last but not the least, that is of an empty throne, because since Buddha was Siddhartha actually, and he belonged to a Shakya family, and he Shakya dynasty, and he was prince there, and he abandoned his princeship and he abandoned his royal life and became an ascetic. That is the reason it is a depiction that they are praising Buddha in the form of an empty throne. The Hīnayāna people have always followed, or they have always worshipped Buddha in the form of sculptures. Now, how to identify this is a Buddha or a Bodhisattva? So there are few important features that how to identify a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. So the Buddha is often depicted with a shaven head, or with small curls, or with wavy hair, with a bump on his head called a ushnish. Like this is here, that this thing is here, and it is called a the bun. It is called a ushnish. Then comes a urna or a tilak, or it is a very deep what you say, a very deep place in between of the eyebrows, a place between the eyebrows, which shows that this person has having a very important, a very it is high, it has high amount of knowledge, and he's a enlightened person, and yet he is very calm, and it shows depicts a type of Mahapurusha, or Mahapurusha means a person who is great, a great human being, that he is having so much knowledge, and hence he has a urna or a small depression here, which is called urna. Sometimes it is also interpreted as a tilak, but it is not a tilak, it is a urna. It is a small depression in between the eyebrows. Then the other feature to look out is the long earlobes. These earlobes are dangling. These are very long. His eyes are half closed. That is that he is in the form of meditation, since his eyes are half closed. Then he sits on a Padmasan, on a lotus throne, sometimes in Simhasan, lion throne, like here in this image, he's sitting on a lion throne, that there are three lions, one in front and there are two lions in the sides. with and sometimes on a throne with Dharma Chakra and with two stacks. And since Buddha belonged to a Shramana parampara, that means an ascetic tradition. So there is no depiction of consorts or female counterparts with Buddha. But in this image, you will see there are two deities who are interpreted as yakshas, who are a certain type of semi-divine deities or a guardian deities who are flanked behind Buddha. And this is a very later representation when we see the development of Mathura school of art. These extra elements were actually added just to decorate the panel of Buddha. And also in the above, you can see there are two male figures who are called the Gandharvas and who are also, adoring Buddha since he has achieved enlightenment. So the main features to look out has already been discussed, that how to identify Buddha. Now we get to see now who is a bodhisattva. Now bodhisattvas are the person or the people who have received enlightenment but have refused nirvana in just to guide the mankind so that they can be here in this earth. They whatever knowledge they have, they can help the mankind so that they can receive nirvana, so they can receive moksha or salvation. So this idea of bodhisattva originated from the Panchadhyani Buddhas, namely Samantabhadra, Vajrapani, Ratnapani, Padmapani Avalokiteshwar, and Vishwapani. So there are a number of bodhisattvas to be discussed here, but I would be providing you with references of what are the bodhisattvas and their iconographical studies. Now the bodhisattvas are always depicted very ornated and quite decorative. They are always shown with a crown, and inside the crown there is a small image of Buddha, and they are highly decorated with earrings, with these necklaces, with other things, and sometimes they are holding lotuses in their hands. Different bodhisattvas hold different things in their hands, different attributes in their hands. They are also seated on a simhasana or a padmasana sometimes. So they are quite differently depicted since they have received enlightenment, but they have not received nirvana. That is the reason they are quite highly decorated. Since they do not relate to the Shramana tradition or the ascetic tradition, they are depicted with their female consorts or the Shaktis. Now, the Nishapanna Yogavali mentions the Bodhisattvas along with their iconographies. In China and Tibet, Avalokiteshwar and Manjushri are worshipped independently. So, I will be providing you with the examples to study the Bodhisattva and the Buddha images.